Good afternoon and welcome back. I'm Marcus Peter. Talking with Andrea Picciotti-Bayer, legal analyst for EWTN News and director of the Conscience Project. As I usually mention, follow her work, conscience-project.org. Andrea, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Marcus. How are you?
I'm very, very well, thank you. And this is, I guess you could consider a quote-unquote win. Talk about what the HHS Conscience Division is and what the Trump administration has done.
Yeah, no, this is a huge win. And basically, earlier this week, the administration announced that it was kind of reopening an office for conscience rights, or a division for conscience rights and religious freedom within the Office of Civil Rights at the Department of Health and Human Services. And as we know, medical conscience rights and issues related to life, biological reality, and both abortion and end-of-life issues are ones that have kind of assaulted our understanding of healthcare in America. And many healthcare workers, especially with either religious or moral objections to abortion or assisted suicide or quote-unquote gender reassignment interventions, have, under the prior administration, gone without the support of the federal government, despite there being laws recognizing and protecting their conscience rights. The Trump administration is reopening an office, rededicating staff and personnel to that office, and we should be hearing more and more about what it's going to do to make sure that America's healthcare workers are able to offer genuine healthcare and not have to conflict with their beliefs.
How did we get so far as to believing that healthcare providers could be coerced in that way?
You know, I think some of it is the sleight of hand, right? And abortion is the greatest deceptor, a deceiver, I guess, these days, and calling abortion reproductive health care. Obviously there are federal statutes that have protected healthcare workers from personally engaging in the practice of abortion, and including pharmacists and the like, but that doesn't mean that there haven't been problems where we've heard of nurses that have been assigned to assist in a surgical abortion in a hospital, not knowing that that's what that they were, scheduled to do. And so, the Department of Health and Human Services, especially when these entities are receiving federal funds, serves as a watchdog, and the Office of Civil Rights is there to make sure not only that civil rights related to, preventing racial discrimination and the prevention of health care, but also protecting conscience rights is enforced. Sadly, under the Biden administration, that was kind of ignored. But this second Trump administration is reviving concern enforcement and promoting conscience rights in healthcare. And I think this is just a really, really significant move for the administration.
As significant as this move is, it's also going to move certain things in the right direction. Are we possibly going to see some legislation change as a result of this?
I'm not sure about that. That's a really interesting question. I mean, I do think that we've got, as far as conscience rights are concerned, we've got some pretty good protections when it comes to objections to abortion. The fact that gender surgeries and gender interventions have become a thing in healthcare, and more hospitals and institutions who had been promoting that, especially with regard to minors, is kind of a shocking situation. And it's not specifically covered under federal laws. Obviously, there are issues where you can see protections from having to participate in things that sterilize people. And many of these medical and surgical interventions in pursuit of gender ideology have the effect of sterilizing their patients. But that's kind of a secondary effect. It's not a primary intended effect. So it's really been a challenge. The first investigation for conscience objections in the gender area dealt with the objections to the administration of these medical interventions on minors. So it's great that the Office of Civil Rights at HHS has already kind of been on the case already. But I think that we're going to find more and more how sinister this movement has been in many hospitals and healthcare institutions, and that there are people of faith that have been kind of crying out and objecting to participating in them.
We've seen a development of just the general populace move down the path of finding these objectionable procedures acceptable. So even outside of the medical sphere, the average American, in terms of gender ideology, in terms of euthanasia, they're calling it medical assistance in dying, and abortion, how is that going to impact this particular part of the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I wish that, public opinion was always on the right side of things, but sometimes, public opinion, basically in pursuit of, I don't want to interfere in someone's decision making, I don't want to make decisions for them. That seems to be kind of the general driver, and that's, an American idea, to respect people's independence. The problem, of course, is when we're dealing with minors and when we're dealing with innocence, and we're dealing with the pressures, especially when dealing with end-of-life issues, pressures that are being put on older people as they age, or people that are very ill, whether it's financial pressures or concerns of, the burden, which is a good thing, to care for someone in their final stages of life. I do think that this is where the law can lead in public opinion in the right direction. When we enforce life and safeguards for life, when we protect truth and biological reality, when we recognize that natural death is preferable to, forced death, under the law, that can help shape people's understanding of what is good and true and beautiful with regard to people's lives. So, I do think, Marcus, that the pendulum is swinging back, especially with regard to issues of gender ideology, back to a place of kind of sound thinking. But it really does come from a place of kind of misguided sense of not wanting to interfere in someone's life instead of being able to kind of defend what is true.
And this is going to enshrine, like you've rightly noted, freedom of conscience. It is an individual's line of defense against, especially the affront of the state against one's conscience and one's faith.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when we've got publicly funded hospitals that are pressuring people to participate in something that they find either a violation of their faith or morally objectionable or just medically unsound, this is where conscience rights protections, religious freedom protections really are crucial. I would hope that states, localities, and the federal government do promote life, do promote biological reality, do promote dignity in dying a natural death and the support for that. When they don't, this is when conscience rights need to be safeguarded and enforced.
And thank the Lord that we do have these protections being placed, especially for, in this case, healthcare workers. Andrea, thank you so much for bringing this to our attention.
Marcus, thanks for having me on, and have a lovely afternoon.
You too. And as I've mentioned before, Andrea Picciotti-Bayer, she brings cases like this to our attention so that we're aware, not just of the conversation, but these are things that we can write to our elected officials about and let them know that this is where we stand on these issues. And we value freedom of conscience. We value the freedom to profess one's faith and to let one's faith inform, in this case, decisions to be made in our places of employment for healthcare workers. So this is a win in that sense. It's a freedom of religion, freedom of conscience win. And we can be grateful for it, but the fight is far from over. Public opinion, as Andrea highlighted, is one of those issues that we have to sway and change. But we also have to strive to make abortion, euthanasia, and assisted suicide and gender ideology unthinkable to bring this nation back to the Lord. Stay tuned. I'm Marcus Peter.